Welcome to the FMCG Guys podcast, live from the Retail Summit Canada in Toronto. I'm Daniel Torres, and I'm sitting with Ryan Weber, who's the VP Sales and Client Success at Advance, powered by Loblaw, who's the main sponsor of this event, actually.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Daniel. I'm glad to be here and look forward to our conversation.
And congrats on doing the opening speech of the event. No pressure there.
Yeah, but it was the easy part, right? The rest of the people had to do the tough part with all the talking. I just had to welcome people on stage, so it went well.
But still, being the first is not an easy one.
Yeah, fair enough.
So congratulations.
Thanks.
So maybe you can tell us a bit about your role at the company and maybe a bit about the company itself.
Of course, yeah. So Ryan Weber, VP of Sales and Client Success for Advance, powered by Loblaw. I know for you, a lot of your listeners are in the UK, so I think explaining Loblaw is important. So Loblaw is one of Canadians' largest retail shops, grocery shops. We've got, as far as size and scale, we've got many different banners that go all across Canada. We also have a part of our division that is both pharma and beauty. And so if you look at the reach, there's about 2,400 stores across Canada. We've got 190,000 employees. We do over 1 billion transactions a year. So that sort of gives you an idea of the size. The advanced piece, it really started in 2019 when Loblaw started off the media component of their business. But what we found was we wanted to try to stitch together some of the components to drive a true retail media experience. And so what we just most recently launched was Advance, and it was the consolidation of our loyalty business. And our loyalty business is PC Optimum, which is made up of 16 million active members. We've got a data and analytics platform that measures all the transactions that happen within our brick and mortar stores. And then obviously there's the retail media component. So those three pieces together is Advance.
Mm-hmm. And where do you feel that you are on the journey, on this retail media journey?
It's a great question, right? Where we are at, if you look at the retail media landscape in general, people will say it's about 3 to 5 years old, right? And I think for us, where we made some significant improvements is how do we show up in market, right? So we built our own on-site and off-site media platforms, and I think most recently what we've invested in is our in-store capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's unique about our offering is we have the grocery channel, but we also have the beauty pharma stores.
Mm-hmm.
And so having the in-store experience allows us to connect with all of our CPG clients, but also there's the beauty piece, which is a huge unlock where traditionally a lot of investment is spent. So I think to answer your question, the fact that we have those three main components really allows us the ability to tell the omnichannel story. And so I think we're positioned and we're in a really good spot.
No, it's interesting for the Canadian market because I feel like in the US, retail media was all about online. Mm-hmm. In Europe, the in-store capabilities, without being called retail media, were far more advanced. Mm-hmm. And in Canada, I feel like you're evolving both at the same time, no? Specifically in the in-store space, what type of projects do you have going on there?
Yeah, so I think most recently, we made a strong push to get the screens in the store. So we've got, if you look at all of our brands across all of our banners across Canada, we've got 550 screens within 550 stores that have screens or mm-hmm. multiple screens. And so I think for us, we've got the built-in infrastructure. And what we're looking at now, so it's check, which is great. We've got the infrastructure, and now it's trying to, I think the next component is around the measurement capabilities. And so we've been working with COMB, which is a regulatory body within Canada, and we've made strides from a measurement capability. Mm-hmm. So I mean, obviously it's so new. And you'd see that, right? Like I think if you look at the retail media landscape, people, because it's still in its infancy, 3 years, people are building different components at different stages, right? So I think for us now, we built all of the components that we need to, both on-site, off-site, and in-store. And now it's just our big focus for the year is to be able to focus on the omnichannel story and really focus on how can we measure incrementality from an omnichannel perspective.
And a word that became very fashionable a year ago, but we're not hearing that much about now, is AI.
Yes.
Do you have any AI-related capabilities that you're developing in retail media?
I mean, they're here right now. If you look at the core functionality of search, right? Optimizing search is we're actively using AI. I think for us is we're still in the evaluation stage, but I think, from my perspective, where it's going to really create a bit of stir is around efficiencies, right? And so if you think about the media planners and when they're planning out their campaigns, there are still a lot of manual pieces if you look at the creativity, the creative aspect, right? And so for Loblaw and Generals, there's many different banners. So iterating that creative across all the different banners is very time consuming, both from a client perspective as well as from our perspective. So being able to leverage AI capabilities to automate that, I think it's going to significantly streamline and we're going to gain some great efficiencies throughout the process. But I mean, from an AI perspective, we're using it in some components of our business and we're actively evaluating in other areas.
And what about like retail media? Obviously, when you're talking about it to a client, you're not just selling it as a click this banner and you'll sell more type of proposition. You're probably positioning it as more like a brand building, aka like full funnel type of proposition. How do you see that?
Yeah, so I think for the most part, retail media is bucketed into the shopper marketing dollars, which is the lower funnel conversion, as we both know. And there's tremendous value there, right? Because you can provide closed loop measurement, and with the strength of our loyalty program, we can say definitively that this person has clicked on the ad, they've come into the store, and they've purchased your product. And so that's very, very powerful. However, when you're trying to tap into the bigger opportunity is at the upper funnel, and it's the brand awareness, right? And so it's trying to connect the dots between the two. And I think the opportunity for us is the omnichannel unlock. And I think specifically in store, right? Because if you think of brand awareness, for the most part, it's done traditionally on the linear platform, so television and commercials, right? And so we now have that capability in store, right? So educating, our clients and our brands that you can get that same awareness, but I think most importantly, it's at the most critical point of a person making a purchasing decision. So if you can influence them while they're in the aisle, while they're looking at the screen, to me, there's the brand awareness piece, but you're getting them at the most critical component. So I think to me, now we have that capabilities. It's more around an education because again, it's still new and it's at stage, but I think that's the true opportunity, both from a brand and I think from a customer perspective as well, right? Like you're providing information that's meaningful to them at the right time, and you're helping them make informed decisions.
Yeah, and I don't know if you knew that the Path to Purchase Institute did a survey across different CPG brands recently, and they shared some challenges working with retail media networks like you guys.
Okay. Challenges, come on now.
Yeah, no, believe it or not. So they talked about some minimum spend requirements, lack of data and data sharing, closed loop reporting, or the lack of ability to prove ROI. How do you influence FMCG or CPG companies through these challenges, or to overcome these challenges, if you like?
I mean, so you said minimum spend
requirements.
You said data.
Yeah, closed loop reporting and ability to prove ROI.
Yeah, I think for the minimum spend, in order to get meaningful data, I think it's important to use as many components as you can to influence the sale. And I think and to get there's areas and there's levels of investment to get, there's a timing piece, so how long is the campaign in market, but it's also an investment in multiple platforms to get meaningful data that you can make better decisions with, right? So I think that's the first and foremost. I think from a reporting piece, truth is we're learning, right? There's some areas of retail media that the science of measurement is very, very precise, but in some areas we're learning, right? But I think we've made some significant strides in being able to tell a more meaningful story around that. And I think the closed loop measurement piece, I think the disparity in the market creates confusion, right?
Yeah.
So, the way that we measure is slightly different than some of the other people within the market space. So I think that causes confusion as well. But I think, on the upside, I think, as a retail media network team, we're going to start to unify the consistency around measurement. And I think that will be able to provide clarity for the brands and for the customers. And I think that's where we're going to really start to see some significant growth.
Because while there's not like a general global standardization, it can also be a point of differentiation to have within your network more standardized, more clear type of data, no?
Precisely,
Yeah. How did you like the event? What key learnings did you get from it?
The event was great. It's the first in Canada. I think there's a lot of talk around the importance of omnichannel, but I think for me what really stood out is measuring the incrementality of new customers to your brand. That to me was fascinating, and then measuring the incrementality lifetime value of that customer. That really got me leaning forward, right? Because to me, it's very meaningful. And to be able to provide that information to our brands is very impactful, right? Because there's a constant focus on obviously maintaining your brand consistency, but always trying to push the lever to attract new customers. So landing on a new measurement capability around that to me is fascinating.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for joining, and congrats again.
Okay, thanks so much. Thanks for your time.